Objectives are going to start now, and that includes safety. So one really great example of safety is going to be something called the egress baskets. They're out there in the spacecraft, obviously, and should a situation happen to come up, they are going to have something called the egress baskets they can get in, and those are going to zip line them essentially down to the ground within seconds to safety. Another great example of those safety procedures are going to be the LAS, or the launch abort system that I mentioned earlier. Just a reminder, that's the one that can pull the crew and capsule away from any danger within a few minutes of into the launch. Now, those are just a couple quick examples, but our recovery teams have been training extensively, quite a lot, to make sure that they are ready and prepared for any challenging situation that could possibly arise. All right. Several other objectives that we are going to be looking at are also going to be communication checkouts. That is going to be vital. I know we talked a little bit earlier about all the maneuvering that they're going to be able to do, but we want to make sure that they have full communication ability from space to ground so that we can fully support them here. We are also going to be checking out those life support systems. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the service module and what it is going to do for the crew, but we want to make sure that those life support systems are fully functioning, obviously, before we send them farther into deep space. That's going to be critical for them. So on top of being able to maneuver the spacecraft and check everything out, we are also going to be making sure that everything is fully functioning. So as you can see, big part of this mission is to make sure that the spacecraft, the hardware, and all the operations are working and that the data is going to make sense. And speaking of recovery, we are also going to have the opportunity at splashdown to recover that launch or that flight data, and we're going to be able to take that back, analyze it, and make sure there are if there are any enhancements we need or changes we need to make before our next missions, we'll be able to do so. So lots to do. They're going to stay very busy, obviously, and with that, I will turn it back over to you, Megan.
2 hours, 25 minutes and counting, and the crowd, check it out, continues to grow at our Banana Creek viewing location. They will have a great view of launch, and we will go back now to Leah Martin, who's standing with her next guests.
Hey, Megan, yeah, we're surrounded by thousands of people, some here local from the Space Coast, but we actually have quite a few people who have traveled a pretty far distance to be with us today. I'm actually joined here by a group from the International Space Station Ambassadors Program who have come from all over the globe. Saku, you're here from Japan, you've come Val from Mexico, and then we have brother and sister Cosma and Jesko here who are visiting from Germany. You actually told me that you participated in the NASA Rover Challenge in Huntsville. How was that experience, and how is it kind of participating there in Alabama and then being here today?
So it is an amazing experience because you meet so many young people with visions, with dreams, with ideas, which inspire you and motivate you. And it's even better to be here now to see the SLS launch because we are going back to the moon, and that's what we're working for.
Absolutely. And, you know, the Artemis missions, we talked a lot about the Artemis Accords and this being an international effort. You were actually telling me, Saku, that you're interested in becoming an astronaut with JAXA, pursuing your PhD to be able to do that. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, actually, I applied for the Japanese Aerospace Agency, the astronaut selection like 2 years ago, and then I didn't make it all the way, but I'm still working on it, and hopefully I can be at the launch pad sometime, and then I hope to go back to the moon and Mars, and yeah, I'm working on it.
Absolutely incredible. And Val, you're from Mexico. We were talking a little bit about women in space. This is a team who, you know, is predominantly made up of women. What is it like knowing that Christina is on that rocket right now, about to be the first woman to travel around the moon?
I think that's such an amazing news. It's just so inspiring that we are taking the first black person and also the first woman to the moon. It's just the first step in humanity and a big step in equality as well.
Megan, a lot of excitement here, not just in Florida, but from around the globe, and we're keeping our eye on that rocket, and we're ready to see it lift off.
Thanks, Leah. Yeah, a lot of excitement, but also a lot of inspiration. Again, this is part of, or a big part of the reason why.
130.6.
Good readback, aux 1 voltage, 131.3.
I copy 131.3.
Again, those numbers you hear, they're referring to specific steps in the launch countdown that the crew have to step through in order to get us to launch today. And so we were saying, yes, inspiration, a big part of why NASA does what it does. We want to go together and we want to explore together to learn more about ourselves and here on Earth.
Yeah, humans, I think, naturally want to explore, and so going together, like Lisa said earlier, we're going to go farther and faster than we possibly can alone. And, you know, what a way to celebrate that today.
Yeah.
Going back to the moon in the first time in over half a century.
And we have that great shot there in our small box of the rocket on the pad. And at the very top there, our Artemis II crew. Right now, we know that the crew has begun the closeout crew has begun doing that cabin leak check. So they are currently pressurizing the cabin, and it sounded like it would take about 6 to 8 minutes for them to get to pressure, and then they have to hold that pressure for 5 minutes, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so there's quite a bit of volume. You know, we talked about it being a 6-person tent. I think it's 330 cubic feet. Don't quote me on that number, but you know, they have to pressurize that capsule, and then, like we talked about, take that initial pressure, wait 5 minutes, and take the second pressure.
Yeah, and then it takes about 6 to 8 minutes again to depressurize the cabin. So this process will take a few minutes.
OTC ascent switch configuration complete.
OTC copies. Thank you.
And then after the cabin leak checks, then they will finally close the last abort system hatch. So again, chugging along in the countdown, really excited to, again, continue to hear the crew's voice inside Orion, stepping through all the procedures.
Yes, it's exciting to hear them making progress, right? It's all good news hearing the crew talk to the ground and working together to get to the launch.
And what I think is really cool is that this is the first time NASA is going to have astronauts in low Earth orbit, but also in deep space at the moon. So here's a message from some of the crew aboard the International Space Station right now.
Hello, Megan, and a big hello to everyone around the world counting down together to the launch of this historic flight test. If we weren't in microgravity, we would also be on the edge of our seats.
Here on the International Space Station, all of us are honored to have the chance to wish our fellow explorers Godspeed. Throughout human history, the moon has sparked our imagination, curiosity, and wonder. With our return to the moon, we're not only going to be learning about its history, the history of our solar system and of our planet, but also about our place in the cosmos.
We are so proud of the Artemis team and so excited for what you will see and learn on behalf of all of humanity during your trip around the moon. As we push the boundaries of exploration and expand our knowledge with scientific discovery, we advance our collective civilization together as one.
Test flights are crucial to the mission of exploration. We all learn in test flight schools that the more challenging the missions are, the more incremental the tests should be. This Artemis II mission is one more increment on the way to further exploration.
Thank you to the crew, our friends, for your dedication. And from the entire Expedition 74 crew, thank you to all of the teams that had a hand in getting the Artemis II mission to where it is today.
Back to you, Megan, as the countdown continues.
Oh, I love that so much. I just love seeing them there. And again, you have to remember the International Space Station is an orbiting lab. We learn so much there, and we're going to learn so much more from Artemis II, because this isn't just a test flight. It's an opportunity to learn more about the moon, deep space, and how humans can live and work so far from home. So here are some of the science objectives that NASA hopes to accomplish with Artemis II.
Artemis II is our return of humans to the moon, flying around the moon on board Orion. But along with that, we're doing a lot of great science.
One of the exciting things about the Artemis missions to the moon is that science is actually a fundamental pillar of why we explore, why we're going, what we're doing in Artemis.
I think it's incredibly exciting that not only are we testing the vehicle, but we're testing science on board. Science where the astronauts are conducting experiments, science riding along with the astronauts. We have astronauts looking outside the window and really observing the lunar surface.
It will help us understand the deep space environment. It will help us understand how that environment affects our astronauts, our systems, and life in general.
So deep space is a challenge for us because you have to leave Earth's protective magnetic field. Here in low Earth orbit, the crew members are protected from some of the harmful radiation going to the moon, they'll no longer be protected, so they'll have a higher radiation exposure.
Much like Artemis I, we have so many radiation sensors and detectors that are inside the capsule so that we can fully understand and appreciate the radiation environment for protecting our astronauts. In my hand here, I'm holding a tissue chip model. This is the exact design that's going to be flying alongside the astronauts. We'll be collecting samples from each of the crew members, and we can make these organ chips out of the astronauts themselves. So every crew member will have their own avatar on board, and then upon return, we can evaluate that deep space radiation environment and what that compares to the astronaut themselves. Not only are they going to help change the course of medicine for the astronauts, but revolutionizing that on Earth as well.
We're looking at sleep, we're looking at team dynamics, we're looking at how you interact with the environment. We're also looking at the immune system, so what are the biomarkers? We're using saliva as a method to study hormones and different things in your body that may change during a mission like this. And then finally, how do we function after microgravity, being close to the moon, then returning to Earth.
Which will ultimately help us achieve our goal of getting humans to Mars.
And then on top of that, we have an opportunity to look at the moon from deep space on the far side for the first time in over 50 years.
Having human eyeballs and brains back around the moon is going to unlock a new generation of lunar science discovery. The human eyeball is capable of taking in so much data in just a split second. They'll be able to tackle impact history, volcanic history. They'll be able to look at how the albedo, or kind of the shade and hue of the moon and the color of the moon, can tell us something about how that terrain evolved over time. We're integrating science in ways that have never been integrated into human exploration before. We have a front room mission control flight controller position called the Science Officer. We have a brand new science back room where it's basically our brain trust of lunar scientists and geologists supporting the crews of the future. And Artemis II will allow us to really test how this works so that future missions are really set up for success.
We'll also be deploying some CubeSats. They're small shoebox-sized spacecraft of their own. They're each provided by another country, one of our partners. As they conduct their research, they'll complement what we are doing at the moon with Orion.
It is so incredibly exciting to be a part of this mission.
And it has been, really one of the privileges of a lifetime.
I can see the work I'm doing benefit crew members right now and benefit the crew members in the future. So it's incredibly exciting and it's very rewarding.
As this rocket launches humanity off of the Earth, we'll be setting the stage through our science to prepare humanity to leave Earth and explore the solar system.
And what we learn during this and future Artemis missions to the moon will eventually get us to Mars. Here's Jasmine Hopkins again, now with Nikki Fox, Associate Administrator of NASA's Science Mission Directorate.
Thanks so much, Megan. Yes, we're back on the balcony now, joined by Dr. Nikki Fox. Nikki, in this nearly 10-day mission, we are covering a lot of science, from CubeSats to tissue chips. What are you most looking forward to learning?
Oh my goodness. I think for me, the most exciting thing is actually being able to interact with the crew while they are flying, doing this historic journey on the far side of the moon. They are going to be seeing pieces of the moon that no human eyes have seen before, which is really spectacular. It's going to be an interesting trajectory. Some of it is in darkness. Then at the terminator, so in darkness, they'll be able to look for like impact flashes and things when micrometeorites pummel that poor moon. And then at the terminator, they can see shadows and interesting things, which kind of gives you depth perception. And then, of course, in the sunlit, picking out everyone's favorite craters. Also, if we launch today or tomorrow, they will see a total solar eclipse from the Orion capsule. How cool is that?
That is very cool. We are thrilled for this Artemis II crew to be able to see the moon in a way that we've never seen before. What is so unique about that far side? Why are we going there?
I mean, honestly, it's just, it is unique. It's very different to the near side of the moon. The actual sort of terrain, the morphology, it's very, very different. And so it will be very exciting to see that as we're going past that.
Absolutely. And Nikki, we are performing a lot of science at the moon this year, actually, not just Artemis II. Can you speak to the commercial lunar landers we're planning to send?
Yes, we are very, very proud of our commercial partners as they take our payloads for us to the lunar surface. And very excited. Next one up is Blue Origin's Blue Moon Mark 1 going. It's got some science on it. It's got the scalps that went on the Blue Ghost. so we'll be able to sort of look at that plume as it's coming down onto the lunar surface, and then also the laser retroreflector that will be the array that's up there too. So even on that first test flight, packing it with science as much as we can.
Wow, Nikki, so much science. It's hard to keep track of everything. But the unique thing about Artemis II is we're sending crew. Can you speak to the importance of the human element of science?
Absolutely. I mean, we can program, like we do with our beautiful rovers on Mars, we can program them to do certain things, and it's what we think we need them to do. When you have an astronaut up there, they can make that sort of like really unique split-second decision. The thing I'm most looking forward to is when they think they're going to be looking here, is hearing one of them say, "Oh my goodness, look over there." And I think that's just incredible about how we do that. Also, flying our tissue chips with the astronauts, our Avatar experiment. Here we go, Avatar.
Oh, wow, look at that.
And that's got the tissue chips samples that matched to the crew, so we'll be able to monitor the effects of microgravity and radiation on that human tissue as we prepare for more and more missions to the moon for longer and longer durations, and then off to Mars.
Wow, Nikki, so much science ahead of us, but first we have to launch. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. Go Artemis.
Oh, of course, go Artemis. And with that, let's turn it back over to the countdown with NASA's Megan Cruz.
Nikki is so fun. She has so much energy and so much passion about the science. And again, yeah, it's just so important to remember that so much science is happening with this mission. It's not just to test out the hardware and the life support systems.
Yeah, you saw the science video, and then we talked to Nikki. Man, there's so much going on, right? We talked a little bit about the lunar observations that we're going to do. And then, she talked about, made a really great point about, the human eye can pick things out that a camera or a robot can't necessarily pick out. And so that's why we're sending humans. But also, we're not just doing the lunar observations. The Avatar, that's a really cool experiment. They took blood samples from the crew, and then they used those stem cells to make bone marrow and create those little Avatar chips, which is
so impressive.
Feels like scientific, sci-fi movie stuff. But, we're going to look at radiation. We're going to look at all sorts of different scientific experiments. We got the little CubeSats. We're going to go look at space weather. Lots going on.
Yeah, even collecting some of the astronauts' saliva. You can learn a lot about the body through the saliva. So just really a lot in a small amount of time in a small capsule.
Yeah, scientific discovery. That's why we go back to the moon.
Yeah. And so, again, her energy just so... oh my God, I can't find the word. So
wonderful.
Awesome. Yeah. I don't know why I couldn't find the word. So anyway, yeah, just really, again, thank you, Dr. Nikki Fox and Jasmine. And so, Nicole, what about answering more questions?
Let's do it.
Okay, great. First one, what was the word I was trying to get at? No, I'm kidding. Let's have the first question up on the screen now. I know we got them. I see him being asked.
And CDR OTC Ryan Earth 1.
Go.
For your awareness, scrubber cycling is about to be restarted.
Integrity copies.
All right, let's try that again. Can we get the next social question, please? What are the G-forces experienced by the Artemis astronauts during launch and reentry?
Ooh, these are actually pretty similar to a Dragon launch or a shuttle launch. We have to accelerate to get out of the Earth's atmosphere, and then we talked about the secondary burns that they will do to get away from Earth. But, for me personally, it kind of felt like we got slingshotted off the Earth is how I like to describe it. So, you get set back in your seat and the G forces are into your chest.
CDR OTC Ryan Earth 1.
Go ahead.
When leak check complete, the cabin is going to be vented to flight pressure momentarily.
Integrity copies.
That's fantastic news.
Yeah.
Again, so the spacecraft is holding pressure as expected, and so now they will depressurize it, which will take about 6 to 8 minutes. Exciting.
Yes. Yeah.
Go ahead, Nicole.
Like we talked about, continuing to march towards the launch. So the G-forces are into your chest, and it's kind of a slow build, and you can get all the way up to 4.5 Gs into the chest during the launch. And often they have to back off on the thrust a little bit so that you don't get too high in the G-forces, and especially as we go through kind of max Q or that max aerodynamic force, so as they get through the thicker parts of the atmosphere. And then very similar G-forces on the way home, so slow, steady build up to about 4.5 Gs as the rocket actually decelerates. You know, you heard in one of the packages, when they come back, they're going to be going 7 miles a second.
Gosh, that's
and
incredible.
So you have to slow down somehow, and to do that, you have to actually, you know, when you brake in a car, you feel those G-forces, and so for the astronauts, it'll just be, again, into the chest based on the orientation.
Great. Thank you so much for that answer, Nicole, and for that question. We're going to continue to try to take as many as possible. Again, you know how to send them to us at NASA Artemis. But now we again have another question for you, for our audience. We want to know, what part of Artemis II are you most excited for? Liftoff, Earth views from Orion, lunar flyby, or splashdown? Tell us again on NASA's Instagram or Twitch accounts, and we'll share your answers a little later in the broadcast.
That's a tough one. I don't know what my answer would be.
I know. I don't know either. I'm excited for it all, but that's a cop-out. All right, now let's head back over to Banana Creek. Again, the crowds there, really excited. People coming from all over the country, from around the world. Why don't we get another check with Leah Martin to see who she's caught up with now.
Well, Megan, we were a little while ago talking to some students from around the globe. Today, we're actually talking to some local students who are from right here, locally, Merritt Island in Titusville. We talk a lot about the Artemis generation and about the students who are going to become the next generation of dreamers, of engineers, of scientists and technologists. And I'm actually standing with a group of those students here today. Our local high school has actually implemented a really neat new program in the spirit of being able to create these pipelines for employment and engagement. Can you tell me a little bit about what Merritt Island High School is doing?
Sure. Well, this is a new program, first of its kind here in Florida, and basically what we're studying is astronautics and aviation, kind of blended the two together. We have flight simulators in our lab, but students are also learning about engineering, aerospace engineering, and we're trying to make all kinds of pathways available for them, trying to give them opportunities to see which pathway they might want to be interested in. So, yeah, it's just a great opportunity for them to learn about space. We just finished doing a whole model rocket build where the students took CAD software, developed their own rockets, put them together, and launched them right from our school. So it was very exciting.
Incredible. And then another local high school, Titusville, you guys also have a similar but slightly different program.
Yes, we do space mechatronics with advanced manufacturing, preparing students to build and manufacture things to automate, do automation to build things on Mars and things like that, or locally too.
Now, you told me that you're actually trying to figure out a little bit what you want to do when you're done. You're a freshman in high school. What things are you learning in your class here that are really kind of tweaking your interest in the aeronautics field?
So we're building a lot of things with like metal and how we're supposed to do it on the rockets. We're also doing computer programming, which would help with NASA and like programming and coding.
Absolutely. And you were actually telling me that I think were telling me that you're interested in becoming a pilot. We talked a little bit about the pilot who is on board the rocket right now. How is this program preparing you for your future?
I mean, it's teaching me everything that I know about aviation, and it's really inspiring that I get to learn it in a classroom, like locally as well. It's amazing. I love it.
And then you were also telling me you're taking this class. What's the most interesting thing you've learned?
I really like the whole design part of it, like actually like engineering, like because I want to be an engineer. Engineering the products we use when we build stuff. That's definitely my favorite part, learning how to use those kind of softwares.
Absolutely. Well, Megan, when they're seasoned NASA employees, you'll be able to say that you saw them here first when they were still in high school. Back to you at the desk.
I can also say that they have fans. Nicole Ayers here. As soon as that girl said that she wants to be a pilot, Nicole went, yeah, why is that something that's so thrilling for you to hear?
I mean, I love when kids in high school have goals and they set their goals high and they want to go do something. You know, the kid who wanted to be an engineer or a pilot, like, I love that. You know, find something that you're passionate about, go work hard at it, and go get good at it.
Yeah, and speaking of passion, I mean, we definitely have a whole bunch of people here passionate about what NASA is doing here. Again, the lawn behind us just filled with media from around the world, making sure that they can help tell our story story to everyone who is interested in hearing it. So back here in Florida, of course, we have NASA leadership also keeping a close eye on launch operations. Let's go now to Jasmine Hopkins, who is standing by with Lori Glaze, Acting Associate Administrator of NASA's Exploration Systems Development.
Thanks so much, Megan. Yeah, we're honored to welcome Dr. Lori Glaze to the balcony now. Lori, this is our very first time having crew on an Artemis mission. How does that feel, and how does that change our overall approach to the mission?
It's a really good question, and it really came home today when we were watching the crew walk out, and then we saw them get into their van and go out to the pad, and we've been watching them getting into the crew module. And so we've really put an enormous amount of rigor into assuring the safety of our crew. One of the most important things on this mission, different from Artemis I, is we now have environmental controls and life support systems. One of the most important things we're going to do on this mission is test those out and make sure that we can keep our crew healthy and safe throughout their mission. We also on this mission have an activated launch abort system, which we had the system for Artemis I, but it wasn't active. But we definitely had that active on this mission. We want the ability, again, if something goes wrong, to be able to have that ability to abort and get them back to the ground again safe.
Absolutely, Lori. I mean, as you're driving home, safety is paramount here at NASA, and your program is responsible for all of these Artemis elements. We have the Space Launch System, Orion, ground system. So how do you get everybody cohesively on the same page for a day like launch?
And that's a great question, and it's really been wonderful to watch our teams working together. We have the ground systems, which are kind of the bookends of our mission. The ground systems help prepare us to get the rocket ready to take off. They're doing all of the loading of the tanks right now and getting the crew into Orion. And then at the back end, they'll be there to recover the crew when they land in the ocean. But they know that their job is to make sure that that rocket is ready to go and that the crew module is ready to go. And then the rocket itself, the space launch systems, they know that their job is to deliver the crew module to the right point in space so that they can conduct their mission. And then again, they have to make sure that everything is ready, that they set them on the trajectory that is going to bring them around the moon and set them up to land in the right place in the Pacific Ocean. And that's their job, and they know how important that is. And they have to work closely with Orion, which again, they also have to work with all the other teams to make sure that everything's working together. And then on top of that, our flight operations teams, all the people on the ground, they're all working together. They know this mission doesn't work unless every single part of the mission works.
Right. Lori, there are so many things that have to work together today. We can't wait to see what happens next. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Of course. And with that, let's take it back to the countdown with NASA's Megan Cruz.
Yeah, and speaking of the countdown, 1 hour, 59 minutes and counting until the opening of our 2-hour launch window at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time. This is a shot of Jetty Park. It's a nearby popular viewing location of rocket launches, and it is so great to see how many people are here. I mean, this is a Wednesday. Like, people had to take time off of school and off of work, but it's something that they felt like they wanted to do, to be here.
Yeah, you know, I think just based on the chatter on the airplane ride yesterday, half of my airplane ride
oh, no
here
way,
was
really?
They were coming to see the launch. You know, everybody's excited and traveling from all over the world to come see this launch.
And it really is a great day. We had some sprinkles here in the crowd, but for the most part, I mean, it's just a beautiful day to witness history.
It is, yeah, you know, a little bit of sprinkles, but for the most part, the clouds are staying away, and you can see the blue sky behind us, so hoping for good weather in a couple hours.
Absolutely. And so Dr. Lori Glaze mentioned what we learned from the Artemis II mission helps pave the way to sustained human presence on the lunar surface. So what are the objectives of this mission to eventually accomplish that? Let's check in with Gary in Mission Control for more.
Thank you, Megan. Yes, the Ascent teams are here in Mission Control Houston, working through their steps to prepare for a go for launch. Right up here on the front board, we're watching the teams in the White Room work through their checklist and closing the hatch as we verify ours, working as one NASA team. What Dr. Glaze said about working across the teams throughout the nation is true. It takes one NASA team to bring everything together and accomplish the mission objectives. The Artemis II is designed as the first crewed test flight of NASA's Artemis campaign, sending astronauts into lunar space to validate systems, operations, and human performance ahead of a more complex lunar landing missions. NASA has identified an extensive list of mission and flight test objectives that serve as a checklist to verify the capabilities needed to land humans on the moon. For the Artemis II mission, there are 5 overarching priorities that cover the mission and flight test objectives. First is, of course, the crew. As the first crewed mission inside the Orion spacecraft, this mission serves to demonstrate the capability of safely sustain the flight crew throughout the mission, including launch, the deep space component, and return. Number 2 is systems. This mission brings it all together to validate the performance of all ground and flight systems needed for a long-term lunar campaign, from launch infrastructure to spacecraft operations in deep space. Third is hardware and data. We'll be gathering performance data as much as possible over the Deep Space Network, but we also aim to retrieve onboard data and hardware after splashdown to gather additional insight and improve future Artemis missions. Fourth is emergency operations. The crew and flight control team will be testing emergency systems such as abort procedures, rescue operations, and contingency responses. During the flight, astronauts will rehearse a number of these procedures to ensure that in the event of a real emergency, the planned procedures and operations are sound. And finally, there's subsystem validation. Engineers will be verifying subsystems across the board to ensure reliability across life support, propulsion, avionics, and navigation systems aboard the Orion spacecraft. Human spaceflight is a complicated endeavor that requires precision and confidence across all disciplines. You may hear the phrase, human spaceflight is the greatest team sport, a few times in today's coverage, and it's absolutely true. Not only does it need mastery of specific components, but the integration extends across thousands of people and facilities around the world to come together and make it all work. A lot of the work from many people has led to this moment, a rocket at the pad with humans on board, ready to put everything we worked for to the test. I'm certainly excited about it. The teams here in this room are looking forward to supporting the mission, and I hope those watching are as excited as we are. We are following the countdown here in Mission Control Houston. Everything continues to look good, now inside 2 hours from the beginning of the launch window. With that, I will send it back over to you, Megan and Nicole.
Hey, Gary, thank you so much. We are getting word that the launch team is working something that we would like to give you an update on, so let's get on over to Daryl.
All right, thank you, Megan, and we are live in Firing Room 1 here at the Launch Control Complex. Yes, we are currently not working any constraints with regards to the rocket or the ground systems. But the launch team has been made aware of an issue that the range is working. And currently they're monitoring that work that is going on over at the range. We understand that that issue is related to the flight termination system. Now, the flight termination system, just to give you a quick explainer, every rocket has a flight termination system. It's the system that the Eastern Range here uses in order to send a destruct signal to a rocket in case it veers off path. So it's a very critical, important safety component in terms of how the range keeps the public safe here. We understand that the flight termination system, they're working an issue. And so as they continue to work that issue, they've asked for some assistance from the launch team to help verify some of the work that they're doing on their FTS system. And this is where it gets a pretty unique situation here. The assistance they've asked for is to verify what's going on with their system. They want to check it to see that the work they're doing is okay. And in order to do that, the FTS console operator inside the firing room has been asked to help them verify it. And the way that they're going to do that, and the solution that he proposed to check and verify the system with the launch director, and she gave the approval, is to go get a piece of heritage equipment from inside the VAB that was used during the space shuttle program. And this equipment is able to receive commands by the range through the flight termination system. And so with this piece of equipment, this console operator who works FTS was granted permission to go over to the VAB next door and get this equipment that he's very much aware of and used during the space shuttle era. And so that is in work right now. The bottom line of all this is, at this moment, the range is no-go. But that is not stopping us from moving forward in the countdown. We can continue to process and work the countdown. The closeout crew will continue to do their work, and the launch team will continue to do their work as well. But we'll keep you updated on what happens in regards to, as far as my understanding goes, a pretty unique situation here with trying to bring resolution and kind of help out the situation that we're seeing at the range right now. And that's the latest here from the firing room. We'll send it back to Megan and Nicole out the host desk.
Thank you, Daryl. Yes, very unique, but I think it speaks to the ingenuity of this team, right? To say, hey, we have this equipment at the VAB. Why don't we leverage it to try to solve this issue and work it?
Yeah, what a great example of human creativity, right? We know this thing exists. Let's go solve this problem. We have time, you know, like Daryl said, we're going to continue to march down the countdown. So we'll continue to get the rocket and the crew ready, but we still have that 2-hour window. So in the meantime, let's try to figure out what's happening with the range. And
speaking of the range, what is the range for people who might not watch rocket launches with us often?
Sure, yeah. So anytime that you launch a rocket, you have to clear the airspace, right, in the launch corridor. So where the rocket's flight path is going to go, you have to make sure that that whole airspace is clear. And so we actually have assets, you know, the Space Force helps us out with this one, but, you know, we want to make sure that there aren't airplanes in the way and there aren't other, you know, maritime assets in the way or things like that. So that there's a whole group of people. We talked about, actually, Gary said it great, right? It's a huge team sport, and so there's a whole group here on the ground that is monitoring that launch corridor to make sure it's clear and ready to go. And so if they're having issues, then we definitely can't launch this rocket. We don't want to launch blind into a corridor that we can't see.
Yeah, because as Daryl said, I mean, it is very important, the flight termination system, needing to activate it in case of an emergency. So yes, something that we will closely be monitoring throughout the countdown, and hopefully again won't be an issue, that they can fix this issue by going to the heritage hardware that's in the vehicle assembly building.
Right, what a great idea.
Okay, so again, under 2 hours from the opening of our 2-hour launch window, 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time. The crew, as you can see there, inside of Orion, relaxing, getting updates from the team, but also just getting in the right headspace for hopefully launch today. Let's learn a little more about each of them now.
The moon, to me, it's the thing that connects me together with all the other humans in my life. I remember being a little kid lying in bed at night and just looking out at the moon in whatever phase it was in, and I was thinking, man, my friends that live like 20 miles away, they can probably look out and see that same exact moon. And then when I was in the Navy and I would look out at the moon and I'd be halfway around the planet, I would think, man, my brother can see that moon where he is, and he's halfway around the planet from where I am. To me, it's a connection of life on Earth. We can all look up and see that moon, and it's always changing. The moon is never the same 2 days in a row. I love that. My name is Reid Wiseman. I'm the commander of NASA's Artemis II mission around the moon. I grew up in a little town just north of Baltimore, Maryland, about 20 miles north of the city. There was a National Guard base nearby my house, and there were A-10 aircraft that would fly over every now and then. I just would look up at them and be like, man, I want to be up there. I want to go do that. And then my brother went to the Naval Academy, and I would go every year and watch the Blue Angels fly during commencement, and that just started to grow and grow and grow. For a while, I wanted to join the Air Force, and then I realized Navy flies as well, and they fly from ships in the middle of the ocean, and that was it. Like, done deal for me. That is exactly what I wanted to do for my career. Flying is freedom to me, especially when you're in a jet aircraft coming off of an aircraft carrier in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Nearest land is over 1,500 miles away. So when you come off of that aircraft carrier, you are truly just alone with yourself out there. It is a magical experience to be out there all by yourself in an aircraft over the Pacific. It's free. I think anybody who accomplishes something that they set their mind out to, there's no one thing that does it for them. It's a combination of everything. I mean, the way my parents raised me, the way my brother and I, the way our relationship developed over time, my friends, being in the marching band, going to college, setting my own course, learning how to live on my own, being mentored along the way, being, kept on the path to success, but being given the freedom to, make excursions and fail every now and then and regroup and carry on. I think all those things come together in the end to get you where you are. I've had to overcome, I'm a human being. I've had to overcome a lot of fears. I'm pretty scared of heights. I joked about that on the International Space Station, but it turns out I'm only scared like at the edge of a building. When you're up on the International Space Station, even though you're 250 miles up, I never had that feeling of falling or that I was, at risk up there. I just kind of loved the feeling of floating and looking down at Earth. There have been challenges all throughout my life. By far, the biggest challenge was losing my wife in 2020 to cancer and now raising two daughters who are grown up now, but that's been the biggest challenge by far I've ever had to face. It is not easy. Being an only parent, trying to work a full-time job, and raising two kids is something that I think about every single day. I'm very proud of the work I've done. I haven't always done it well, but I've always shown up and tried as hard as I possibly can.
I do wonder what it's going to be like when we are really far from Earth and can see it. The sensation of being so far away from everything that you know. I had that sensation on the space station the first time I got to sit in the cupola for a really long time. So I can only imagine what that's going to be like from 200,000 plus miles away. My name is Victor Glover, and I'm the pilot for NASA's Artemis II mission around the moon. When I was in 4th grade, I was 10 years old, and that's when the Challenger accident happened. And it helped me understand how the general public felt about the astronaut corps, right? Like, these are the people that we want to be, and that just gave me an easy thing to strive toward. The biggest fear that I've had to overcome in my life is doubting myself. Going to college when no one in my family had gone to college was a huge risk. I had more confidence in my athletic ability than in my academic abilities. I could play football with those college students that I saw on TV, but my classmates that I saw in the lab and around the University Union, I didn't know if I had what they had. I think addressing that self-doubt was a part of, swinging for the fence and trying to go get an engineering degree, not just go to college, but get an engineering degree and then go do something challenging and technical like flying. Apollo is known for sending humans to the moon. Artemis has an opportunity to continue the Apollo story, but I actually think it's important for this story to stand on its own. Artemis is a new program, and we're trying to do new things. And it's great to compare and contrast. When you look at our spaceship, you can see parts that were designed, built, and integrated in another country. When you look at our crew, you see that our crew is international. There are also men and women. And I just think that comparing and contrasting makes the story even richer. The piloting role specifically, I will have an hour and a half or so where I get to fly the spacecraft by hand. We haven't flown that many spaceships. And so the ability to fly one actually in space on a test mission is just a really unique opportunity. I can't tell you how I'm going to feel when we fly by the moon and see the moon up close and the Earth from 250,000 miles away, but I don't use the word excited because I'm focused. What we do, this is very serious and it's very risky, and we are all intimately familiar with that risk. And so if we go out there and we're successful and we can pass that baton on to Artemis III, that's something to really be excited about.
I tell a story, which is one that my dad told me before the Apollo missions when he was just a very little boy. He was looking up at the moon with his mom, and his mom said to him, "Don't worry, Ronnie, we'll never get there." Fast forward maybe 70 years later, it's his daughter that's actually going there. And I think that long arc is something that we can all learn from. The idea that the seemingly impossible becomes possible if you just believe in it and are willing to work hard and come together to achieve it. My name is Christina Cook, and I'm a mission specialist for NASA's Artemis II mission around the moon. When I look back at my dreams as a kid, I definitely never thought I would actually get here. I was very pragmatic. Even though I'm a dreamer, I knew that the odds were way against me again, so I might as well do something I'm loving in the meantime. I definitely loved science and math in school and, did pretty well in those things, but I also loved being active. I was always outside. I loved things that made me feel small. I loved looking at the night sky, oftentimes between the pine tree branches, or I loved the ocean. North Carolina also has mountains, and when we would go there, I just loved the vastness of all of those things. I loved how they made me feel and what they made me think about, and the vastness of the universe and how much out there was to learn. I'm drawn to exploring. I'm drawn to challenges that involve both mental and physical, and I'd much rather be solving problems wearing a whole lot of equipment and in a harsh environment, and that's just something I've carried with me ever since I was a kid. Thinking about the fears or challenges that I've had to overcome, there are just so many. I mean, basically, that has been the journey. I always say to people, do what scares you, and that means I have to follow my own advice. So doing what scares me meant getting on a plane and going to the Antarctic, getting on a plane and going to study abroad in Ghana, applying to become an astronaut, opening the EVA hatch in the airlock and going out of it into the darkness, strapping myself onto a rocket. And so for me, I think that no matter what the challenge, recognizing that if people believe in you and you believe they believe in you, the challenges seem always a little bit easier. To me, the moon, it represents history. It is a witness plate. Everything that's ever happened to the moon is still written on the moon. Every single person has looked at the moon their entire lives. We see the same moon. That's something really special. It's just the epitome of a symbol of something that's in each of our hearts, but that's also represents exploration and reaching.
I have this very distinct memory of seeing an image of an astronaut standing on the moon. It's burnt in my brain because I went back to it so many times in my childhood, and I would look at that image, and I know it had a huge impact on me that humans had walked on the moon. My name is Colonel Jeremy Hansen. I'm an astronaut with the Canadian Space Agency, and I'm a mission specialist on NASA's Artemis II mission around the moon. My elementary school years, I grew up on a farm outside of London, Ontario. I spent as much time as I could with my dad on the farm. I learned the value of hard work, for example. If I wanted to go to work with Dad, it was going to be a long day, and I was going to have to not complain, or I wasn't going to get to go the next day. I had a treehouse. I had a vivid imagination, and I changed my treehouse into a spaceship. I made all these dials and controls. I had circuit breakers for switches that I found in the barn, and I was exploring space in my imagination. The most important thing I did to get to where I wanted to go in life, which was flying fighter jets and eventually becoming an astronaut, is I shared those desires with other people. And it turns out, just like you don't go to the moon on your own, if you could, I would have done it a long time ago in my treehouse as a kid, you have to go as a team. I think the biggest impediment to achieving my goals was, of course, myself. And I think that's a common human experience. There are many times where just little things would get in my way, and my immediate interpretation of that was, well, now that goal's out the window. You know, people must have lifted me back up, and somewhere in the back of my head, that persistence came through. And I think that's a common human experience, to doubt ourselves. I've come to this, I guess, realization that I believe that we all have gifts to contribute, and the goal is to figure out how to use your energy towards adding positively to humanity's existence on this planet. But I love it when humanity sets big goals, like sending humans to the surface of the moon with an eye to eventually going to Mars, because when we do that, we can bring together genius from not just even in one country, but around the world. I've also learned from my indigenous mentors that they refer to the moon as Grandmother Moon. So you've probably heard of Mother Earth. They use Grandmother Moon because Grandmother Moon is responsible for the water in their community, just like the moon moves the water around the planet, affects the tides. And I think that's a really beautiful thing for us as we go back to the moon, to think about all the different cultures around the world and how they view the moon differently. And that's really neat because we all share that same moon in the night sky.
1 hour, 38 minutes and counting until the opening of the Artemis II launch window today, 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time. And we are looking at the rocket and Orion out on the pad, historic launch pad 39B here at Kennedy Space Center. What a great view, Nicole.
Yes, it is. You know, we can see the clouds out in front of us, but they are to the west. And you can see that there's some blue sky peeking through behind that rocket, which is good news.
And more people continue to come on center here. About a couple of hours ago, folks with special passes to come on center were allowed to start driving on with family and friends. And of course, we have media growing by the moment here at the press site here at Kennedy Space Center, setting up their cameras, setting up tents, interviewing folks. Again, this great jib shot that we have from our camera here showing all the interest that we have here at the press site. And actually, even to the right of us, so camera left, no, sorry, the right of your screen, left of us, plenty of other people there, set up with their own tents, broadcasting to their own viewers. And so again, just really cool to see everybody wanting to share in this moment.
Yeah, that's, I mean, how many media tents we can see from here. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I think it's important to share this message with the whole world.
Yeah. And so let's take a look now at people who are watching in other parts of the country. We have this shot here from the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama.
Oh, man, look
Just
at that.
kidding. Museum of Flight, Seattle, Washington. So sorry. Hello to you over there. Sorry, I thought that you were in Alabama. But here you are from Seattle, Washington. Again, the Museum of Flight. They must have had a special event to bring people there to watch, as well as a special event here. Now, correctly, the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, Huntsville, Alabama. Of course, they would have a lot of people here, and I'm sure this crowd will grow when we get closer to launch. Marshall, the home of the SLS rocket.
Yes. Yeah, this is a great shot. You can see all the people there, and obviously you've got quite a few artifacts in there as well. Oh,
now
they
know.
Yes.
Yeah, now they know. They're on the broadcast. That's too funny.
Awesome.
Hey, listen, it's all right. We can sit. We can sit and chill until we wait for the opening of the window. No, there they are.
Yeah. Everybody's excited.
Thank you guys for showing us your excitement. I know deep down it was in there. It's just that you felt like sitting at the moment, and that's all right.
There's a little delay.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, thanks so much to those supporting these watch parties and bringing them to us live here. Actually, our video paths are taking quite a circuitous route to be able to bring those live views in from Seattle as well as Alabama, but we're glad that we can be able to share it with you in the broadcast now. And so why are we going to the moon? Why does NASA want to build a moon base there? Here's Megan Carter again with our moon board.
All right, thank you, Megan. Yeah, so we are right around that hour-and-a-half mark, hopefully for that launch. It's going to be very exciting. So they are going to have a few days to be around the low Earth orbit, and then they'll be heading on to the moon. So yes, let's talk what will be happening. Why are we going to the moon? So obviously this is not going to be a landing, as we've discussed. They are going to be coming with 4,000 to 6,000 feet around the moon's surface, and this is going to connect us directly to our past. Those Apollo missions did have 6 lunar landings, and the Artemis campaign is looking to build on that past by going back to the moon, staying longer, and then going farther. So how are we going to do that, and why? We have obviously talked a little bit about that lunar South Pole, and we are focused specifically on the far side of the moon for this one for a specific reason. You might have guessed we're going to be looking for some resources especially, and that's going to be water or water ice. That is going to be giving us some really critical pieces for future missions. And as you can see here, we have identified 9 potential landing zones. So this is going to be a critical objective for our crew. Depending on when they launch, it will determine what is going to be visible, but we do have these 9 landing zones right here around the Shackleton crater. And as you can see here, a lot of that area is deep and dark, and that is where we are going to be looking for that water ice, because that is obviously going to give us not just water to drink, but as we know, that can actually be converted into our propellant potentially, that hydrogen and oxygen. So that is going to make the moon a critical place for that moon base, because we want to think of it essentially as a backpacking trip. If you have your tent and your hiking boots and your camping stove and all your gear, you don't want to take that out and be on the trail for the first day and then try everything out. You're going to test things out a little bit closer to home before you go out on that adventure. And that kind of goes for us as well. So the moon is going to be critical for us in the future steps towards our lunar landings, and then also for going farther on to Mars in the future. It's going to set us up for that deep space exploration, and we can't wait to see what they see once they get to that flyby. But for now, we are, like I said, getting closer. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Megan.
Exciting stuff. Again, the idea of accomplishing a moon base, like as we've been saying, sometimes things just seem like science fiction, and it's amazing that we're making it science fact.
Yes, yeah, we're going back. We're going to scout it out, and then on the future Artemis missions, we're going to put boots back on the moon for the first time in over half a century. But we're going to stay, and we're going to learn from the moon, and we're going to, you know, as Megan talked about, the water ice, and harness that resource, and, you know, not only learn from the moon about Earth and about the solar system, but also figure out how we get to Mars from the moon.
And so what we're seeing now back inside the White Room with the closeout team, they are removing basically fixtures that protected the crew module hatch while they did work around it, right, Nicole?
Yep. Yeah, so anytime that you're moving around and working, there are some sensitive sensors and parts of the crew module that we don't want to kick or bump into, and so it's easier to just put a guard up while you're working in there and then take it down later.
And so this is a visual cue for us that the team is getting ready to close the last hatch, again, the launch abort system hatch. Can you tell us about what the last is?
Yeah, so launch abort system, this is, you know, we have the crew module, and then what sits out basically on top of the crew module is the launch abort system, and it has its own motors, so that we'll arm it about 5 minutes prior to launch, and then it stays with the crew module until about the Kármán line, so that 100-kilometer point in space. Once the crew could safely get to orbit, it will actually be jettisoned, and the crew module will then be exposed. So this is just a safety mechanism that stays on the outside of the crew module, and then as they monitor the attitude and the thrust and all sorts of the roll, all sorts of different data points to make sure the crew is safely getting to orbit. And once they are safely to orbit, then we will get rid of that launch abort system.
And it looks like they're putting all these parts that they're removing from around the crew module hatch into a bag, because they have to take this out with them once they leave the pad, right?
Yes, yeah, we don't want anything left up there in the White Room, and especially because that crew access arm will move away from the capsule and the rocket, and so we want an empty White Room, no FOD like we talked about, so that we can have a safe launch.
And this orange tube that you see on the right side of your screen, that had been inside the crew module providing breathable air to the crew. And now again, with the crew module closed and them getting ready to close the second hatch that has been removed and is out of the way. So again, the closeout crew can continue to do their work.
Yeah, that's just a duct to provide some cooling air and some breathing air to the crew and the closeout crew while they're in there.
That's actually a good point, yeah. And so as we continue to watch the crew prepare to close the launch abort system hatch, why don't we take a look at the crew's mission patch? Now, crews have designed their official mission patches since the Gemini 5 launch in 1965. Reid, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, they really wanted to play on the abbreviation of Artemis II to all, signifying not only the second major flight of the Artemis program, but also a mission to explore for all, by all. The crew chose the iconic Earthrise photo for a reason. It was taken by the Apollo 8 crew in 1968, the first crew to ever fly around the moon. The mission was to prove teams then were ready to land on the moon the same way Artemis II hopes to fly around the moon ahead of a lunar landing with Artemis IV. This time, as we've been saying throughout the broadcast, to stay on the moon and pave the way to Mars.
Yeah, we talk about incremental steps, right? And so Artemis II is very similar to Apollo 8 in terms of that increment. They're going to fly around the moon and set up the rest of the Artemis program for landing on the moon, but also with a nod towards the fact that we do this for all humanity. And I love the thoughtfulness and how much importance they put on their patch design.
Another camera angle of inside the Orion spacecraft.
I was going to say we might be able to see Rise, but I think it's right behind Reid's foot there.
And so to orient people again, so basically we have Christina in your upper right hand, Christina in your upper left hand corner. Then you have Jeremy below her. And then the feet you're seeing, those are Reid's feet. And then next to him, the upper right hand corner, that is Victor, who's unfortunately hidden by Reid's feet, but again, that is the orientation of the crew inside Orion right now. Now, earlier this week, the crew got to stick their patch on a wall just outside the suit-up room. You can play that video there now. You can see that crews have been doing this as part of a pre-flight tradition again. Wow, Reid just making sure that thing won't come off.
It's flat.
And so now Victor is signing there, followed by Christina, and then Jeremy. That's a fun tradition, and your patch is up there too.
It is, yeah, ours is on the left-hand side there. It's a fun tradition. This is a really fun day too. You know, they did this a couple days ago, but it's just another step that makes it a little bit more real that you're going to be launching soon.
Again, we talked a little bit about this before. The basically like a computer there on Jeremy's leg, a way for him to just check out the data, see some of the data that also Reid and Victor are getting to see, but in those much bigger displays for Orion.
Right, yeah, it's basically a tablet on his leg, and it's actually plugged into a cord nearby that allows him to have a screen repeater so he can see what they're looking at.
And it looks like he's taking notes. Can you talk a little bit about what that is? It's part of, all of them have like a little procedural book, right?
Right, yeah, so they have what we call a knee board, and they'll have blank pages to take notes on. They might have a cue card or procedures, or they can be kind of custom built to what each crew member wants for their knee board.
This mission, of course, built by people and companies in all 50 states, as we've been saying throughout the broadcast, and with our international partners as well. Let's take a look at some of the people playing such a big role in today's test flight.
What we're doing here is a collaborative effort of hundreds of thousands of people.
This is about the parts, the hardware, the software, the services, all coming together to make that mission possible.
My dream for this space program is that we would not just push the boundaries, but that we push them together.
And liftoff of Artemis I. We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
It takes a team to do great things. And Artemis has an incredible team.
We have international partners. We have commercial partners and industry partners.
It takes unity to accomplish great things, and that's what this mission's all about.
We're not sending our money to the moon and lighting it on fire. We're putting that money right back into the economy in ways that benefit everybody. So every dollar that comes out of the Treasury that goes to support this mission goes back into the Treasury 3 times. What is very important to me is that we do it the right way, and that we do it with our values, that our industries grow, that our communities grow, that our families are healthy and safe and have amazing things to work on. Then we're going to build machines to go even further onto Mars.
That is our generation, the Artemis generation, that defines the starting point of our exploration future.
I just want to say thank you to all of the hands that have touched a part of this program and the hearts that have moved everyone to this goal, because we're going to the moon and we're going beyond.
One team.
One team.
One team. One dream.
What I really like about that package is, again, just reminding people that this is spurring so many jobs across the country.
Yeah, across the country and across the world, right? The whole world has a part of this. The Artemis Accords are signed by over 40, 50 different countries. And so, yeah, we're taking all of the taxpayers' money and we're putting it right back into the jobs here in the U.S.
And the money, too. You know, when we have more disposable income because we have good paying jobs, that's money that goes back into our economy as disposable income. So really, it is just an ecosystem that NASA is proud to be a part of.
Right. And not only is it about the money and the economy, right, but it's also about the science and what we're going to learn and exploration. You know, we, on top of all of those things, we benefit the economy as well.
Obviously, Nicole is a wealth of knowledge. We're very lucky to have her. We're going to be tapping into that knowledge throughout the broadcast, and we have been for now close to 4 hours. So thank you, Nicole. I hope you're holding up okay.
Yeah, I'm loving it out here. It's been great.
Let's learn a little bit more about Nicole. Her first mission to space was actually last March. She launched from here at Kennedy Space Center as pilot of NASA's SpaceX Crew 10 mission to the International Space Station. And what a beautiful launch that was. She spent 148 days in space conducting science experiments that could benefit us on Earth. For example, one studied the physics of liquids, which could help researchers deliver medicines more effectively. She also conducted an almost 6-hour spacewalk to help upgrade the orbiting lab's power system. Nicole is a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Air Force and flew one of its most advanced aircraft. She was born in San Diego, California, and is a twin. That's a cute photo of the two of you. Oh, that one too.
Young explorers, yeah.
Yes, yes. That's so great to just see how far you've come. Again, I think that speaks to what we've been saying. Like, you know, just if you're passionate about something, go for it and see where that takes you.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. You know, I was a serious little kid with really high goals and, you know, just kept working hard and never got bumped off the path and ended up here. And, you know, I think it's a testament to the human, like we talked about, you know, if you're willing to work hard, be a good team player, you can really get anywhere you want in life. And that's what I love to talk about. Christina has mentioned similar things. And so it's been kind of a theme for the day.
Yeah, definitely a theme for the day, a theme for the team. The team has said the same, the crew has said the same sort of things. So absolutely, Nicole, thank you so much for being here. And hopefully only a little bit more until launch today.
Hopefully.
So today's Artemis II test flight will mark only the 7th time NASA astronauts will launch on a new NASA spacecraft designed for crew. And then controlling the flight will be Mission Control in Houston. Our Gary Jordan is inside with flight controllers. Hey, Gary.
Hey, Megan, you are right. This is a significant milestone, and we may be putting the names of a few more astronauts in the history books today. The Artemis II crew is set to launch today will join a select list of humans to fly in a spacecraft for the very first time. And Artemis II, like missions before it, is a test mission. During ascent, the crew and the teams here in the room are prepared for a variety of scenarios. Some of these will be called out directly by Capcom's Stan Love during ascent, and some are a little more subtle. These calls can be split into 2 categories: alternate main engine cutoff or MECO targets and aborts. First, there are 2 alternate MECO targets, or AMTs. These note milestones to give flight control teams and astronauts an idea of what would happen after that moment should the core stage lose one of the main engines. First is AMT low. You won't hear it called out by the crew or Capcom since this happens right at liftoff. If the core stage loses one engine at this moment, an abort once around option could be made at main engine cutoff, meaning the crew could target a splashdown in the Pacific. The second is AMT high, which will be called out by Capcom's Stan Love around 22 seconds. After this moment, if the core stage loses an engine, we can still pursue an alternate mission in low Earth orbit to accomplish some of the test objectives. And at about 5 minutes, 16 seconds into the flight, you'll hear the call 3-engine press. This is a good moment. After this point, if the core stage loses an engine, we can still make a nominal main engine cutoff and pursue a moon mission as expected. Again, these MECO targets give the flight control teams and crew an idea of what lies ahead should one main engine be lost, but assumes we are otherwise continuing to a main engine cutoff target. This differs from an abort, where the Orion capsule separates from the Space Launch System prior to the planned separation time. There are abort options at every moment that integrity is attached to the Space Launch System, from the pad to more than 3 hours into the mission. During the first 8 or so minutes of powered flight, there are 3 abort options. First is the use of the launch abort system, which you see at the very top of the rocket, and here in the White Room where the hatch is open and teams are working to close it. This particular abort capability can be used from here at the pad through roughly 3 minutes and 22 seconds into the flight. Next is an untargeted abort splashdown, or UAS. This uses Orion's service module engines to escape the SLS and becomes available immediately after the launch abort system jettisons. Third is an abort once around, or AOA. You'll hear a Capcom StanLove call AOA open around 7 minutes 30 seconds into the flight. This also uses the service module engines, but the burn profile is a bit different to aim for a splashdown in the Pacific after one trip around the Earth. NASA's expedited recovery teams are staged off the coast of San Diego to get to the crew and integrity quickly for this abort option. An AOA option continues to be available until solar arrays are deployed on the Orion service module a little more than 30 minutes into the mission. At this point, an abort to orbit, or ATO option, becomes available until separation from the upper stage around 3 hours and 23 minutes. Mission profiles can vary depending on when an ATO is executed in that window, but with power being drawn from solar arrays, it buys more time for astronauts and flight control teams to make decisions and stay in Earth orbit, return for a splashdown, or continue to the moon. The Artemis II crew and flight control teams are well trained on all of these scenarios, and the calls you'll hear to the crew on Orion to Earth may help them be in a ready state for whatever challenge may come their way. At this time, we're not tracking any significant issues here in mission control in Houston, Texas. That would be showstoppers for today's launch. We're continuing to, of course, monitor the countdown along the way
MS1,
and make sure all systems are go for when we reach T0. With that, I'll send it back to you, Megan, at the Kennedy Space Center.
All right, we are ready for another reading if you are ready over there.
Yes, sir. CBA is steady at 2,600 PSI.
All right, copy that. And you know, the more times we ask you to do that, the closer we get to launch, so that's a good thing.
Copy.
You heard it there from NASA Test Director Jeff Spaulding. The more that they keep on asking her how the pressure is holding in the counterbalance assembly mechanism is a good thing, because it means we are getting closer to launch. So that's amazing news over the loops that we just heard on Orion to Earth 1. Again, that communication channel with the crew. But now I want to get back over to Daryl with the launch team. He has an update now on the flight termination system that the team was tracking.
All right. Thank you very much, Megan. And we're getting an update now from the launch team as we speak. All right, stand by 1 second. Okay. Sorry about that. We're just getting an update, in fact, about what I was about to report out on the range. And the good news is the range is go. So we reported that they were working to verify their equipment regarding the FTS system. And they asked for a little of that verification work to be done by one of the FTS engineers here in the firing room. He went out to the VAB to get some legacy hardware to help out with it. But in the end, this is a fix that the range had come up with to get clearance, to clear the range rather, and to as well work the FTS system. And so now they are go. Again, the range is go. That is no longer a constraint. And so you combine that with the fact that the rocket and the ground systems here also working, no constraints. clear board here is great news. So again, the range is green, and we're continuing to work through the countdown. We got a weather update that came in to the launch director from Launch Weather Officer Mark Berger. He reported out that there's still a little bit of feisty weather activity that's happening up in the Titusville area. That's the city neighboring the Kennedy Space Center. Those showers had passed over Kennedy, and then now they're currently over in Titusville, currently still within that mile kind of constraint of flight through precipitation rule. But we're still far enough from the window that it looks like it won't be an issue. And in fact, we're seeing some good sunlight now breaking through onto the launch pad. As you can see, it's actually shining on the other side of the rocket here. But to the west, we're starting to see some of that clearing that was forecast. And so the launch weather officer held his forecast for 80% go for flight during our launch window tonight, which, as a reminder, is 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time until 8:24 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're also hearing that the last hatch closure, as you can see in the bottom corner of your screen, they're starting to work on that. That's the launch abort system hatch. There are two hatches, the crew hatch and the launch abort system hatch, and the closeout crew that you see right there, right on time with their work as they go to shut. And you can see it in motion right now, that launch abort system hatch. That's the latest from the firing room. We'll send it back to the host desk.
Thank you so much, Daryl. Great news all around. And yes, we did just see them close the last hatch. And now we are looking at a live view of Banana Creek. Lots of people there, I'm sure, relieved to hear that that issue with the flight termination system has been resolved. And we are go for launch. Go for launch from the range, go for weather, and go from all of them, I would imagine.
Yes, it's got to be exciting. The crowd is building. And as Daryl said, you can start to see the sun poking out here, and we can see all the clouds are moving north and moving away from us. So it's all good news.
And so as we know, we have our Leah Martin down there at the Banana Creek viewing location, and she's standing by with some other guests.
Hey, Megan, I don't know if you heard that huge cheer just now. If you heard a big rumble, as soon as Daryl said that the range was clear for launch, everybody clapped. It was super excited as we get to these final countdowns. Standing next to me, I have Hudson and Maddox, the son of brothers here. And I asked you a little bit earlier, how excited are you to be here for launch? What did you say?
I'm very excited. It's our mom's birthday, and, you know,
not a better way to celebrate right now. I asked you on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you? Would you say?
11.
Yeah,
11. I'm very excited.
Super excited. Yeah.
So, Megan, we've been watching the launch broadcast here and hearing some of the questions that you and Nicole have been asking and answering. And I actually wanted to ask these two kids, if you could take a 10-day trip around the moon and take 3 people with you, who'd you take with you?
Well, I'd take my dad and my mom. And, I mean, I don't know. Probably my best friend. I'd just say one of my friends, you know.
Oh, one of your friends. So brother got left out. Who would you take?
That was just what I was thinking. My dad and my mom and my best friend.
That's a pretty good answer. Your brother can get his own trip to space, right? Yeah. So I'm actually joined here also by Dad. Now, you were sharing with me that a lot of the work that you've been doing over the last several months has been prepping the launch teams, our engineering teams, our ground systems teams to get ready for launch, to be mindful and to be in this moment. How does it feel to be standing here knowing that the people you've worked so closely with are doing what they're passionate about, or doing what they were born to do, moments away from launching this rocket?
I mean, this is an exceptionally happy moment for us and all of us and the people that are, you know, about to take off on this historic trip here. And I'm grateful to know that we've helped in some way, shape, or form to help them stay steady and calm, you know, in such an exciting time within the agency. And so to just be here and witness it and know that, you know, they've got some tools to help them stay calm and steady is everything to us. So.
Fantastic. Well, Megan, we are standing by ready to go, and we're ready to cheer this team on.
Thanks so much, guys. And yes, Leo, we did hear that cheer. That was very exciting. I think the vibe over there is they're celebrating, they're having fun. And here, once they heard that we're go for launch, everybody had to run back to the camera and work. It's a little bit of a different vibe, but I definitely think that people are excited, especially as we see now live inside of the White Room at the launch pad. The closeout crew has closed the launch abort system hatch. You saw there, we took it live. Took a lot of them, I think all of them, except for one. I think it took all 3 or 4 of them to push that hatch door close. And then they felt around the perimeter of the door to make sure that everything was sitting just right.
Right, yeah, we talked about how heavy the crew module hatch is. This hatch is just as heavy probably. And so, you know, they're working the closure here. And working those connections, and you can see, yeah, there's still 3, 4, 5 people that we can see in the White Room. It takes a lot of people to get this these hatches closed and this rocket ready to launch.
And so the next step in the countdown is that this team will start closing out the White Room. So basically disconnecting things, stowing things, making sure that when they leave, there is nothing that isn't supposed to be there. And really, then at that point, it's just all 4 of the crew member, Victor, Reid, Christina, and Jeremy by themselves at the top of the launch pad.
Yeah, and then eventually that crew access arm will move away, and then it'll really just be them up on top of that rocket.
Yeah, your eyes lit up when I said that. That's exciting. It is. It is.
Yeah, we had a moment, we talked a little bit about my fear of heights, but most of our crew is afraid of heights. And so there was a moment where I realized that it was just us, you know, 100 and some odd feet up and
no
crew access arm, and may or may not have said something that made everybody go, huh.
Were you wondering to yourself, how did I get here?
We're pretty far up.
That crew, again, bringing that drag-on camera. That camera is a handheld camera that is a live look for teams who are remotely watching these operations closely. Again, verifying that things are as they should be before the crew starts, the closeout crew starts leaving the White Room. You see them checking their procedures.
You can see they're covering the ends of those hoses. That's to protect those hoses from FOD, so we don't want any dirt or anything to get into those while we transport them and stow them. So you can see Andre there working to close out the hoses as well while they're cleaning up the White Room.
And so they'll tape that close. You just saw number 5. Number 5 holding some tools. Again, we'll stow those away. You have to account for everything. Obviously, you know, they did have tools out. They did have procedures, paper, notes out. Like, all of that has to go.
Yes, and you can even see on number 3's hat, he's got a string that's connected to his suit there. That's, again, just to make sure that we don't lose anything. If, you know, gust of wind or you get knocked or something, you don't want to lose a single thing in the White Room. So everything is tethered, everything is accounted for, and everything is protected.
The crew now, another live view of them inside Orion. Jeremy, Christina, and Reid and Victor on the right side of your screen. What do you think they're thinking right now, Nicole?
Oh man, just over an hour to launch. You know, there's probably a little bit of a lull right now, monitoring some systems, but you can see Reid's got his feet crossed. So I think just trying to relax and, you know, pass the time by maybe thinking through the items that they're going to monitor through the launch, you know, the different jobs that each of them have throughout the launch. And once they get to orbit, you know, this first day on orbit is actually really busy for them. They've got, you know, 2 burns that they have to monitor. They've got to get the system set up, and they've got to get the cabin set up. So there's a lot going on in the next 24 hours for this crew. I think they've got a couple sections where they get to take a nap, but I don't think they get a full night's rest for quite some time. So,
yeah,
you know, going through what's next.
And so as we say that, I mean, imagine what it would be like to live in a spacecraft for 10 days. Let's take a look at what life will be like in Orion.
Artemis II is our first crewed mission back to the moon since the Apollo program. A lot of the focus of Artemis II is really checking out systems to be sure that we're ready and well positioned for continued human exploration. My name is Susan Baggerman, and I'm the Chief Health and Performance Officer for the Orion program and the Artemis II mission. And this is 10 Days in Orion. For this mission, the crew will launch in the Orion spacecraft on top of the Space Launch System rocket, or the SLS rocket. Once they've launched and achieved orbit, they'll continue on checking out many of the different critical Orion systems, check out some of the critical medical systems, and be sure that we understand how the crew would do that successfully within the volume of Orion. We also have, of course, systems to feed the crew. They have a potable water dispenser that they'll check out. And then we also have a food warmer, kind of looks like a suitcase that the crew can use to heat their food. They're also going to check out the flight wheel system. We'll have the crew perform some initial exercises. Part of that is to ensure that the flight wheel is actually working, but part of it is actually to be sure that our environmental control systems are actually working. For sleeping, the crew will sleep in sleeping bags. Some crew members like to be very tightly bound up, and some like to float very free. They'll use the toilet for the first time and be sure that it's able to flush. While they're on their journey, they'll do some testing that they quickly don their suit just to be sure that we would be ready in the future for an emergency. They'll also check out our radiation shelter. If we were to have a solar particle event, we would be asking them to take stowage out of the stowage bay and put it in some specific locations on the vehicle, basically for it to serve as shielding.
And so I want to talk a little bit more about what we just heard in that package. I am interested in the space food. So Reid, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy have a pretty big menu to choose from, so that's really cool. We're actually going to pull up a graphic now that kind of shows you some of the food that they're going to have with them on their 10-day journey around the moon. We know of more than 10 types of beverages. There's coffee, a mango peach smoothie, apple cider, lemonade. So those all sound delicious. And now I've just remembered I haven't eaten lunch.
They're actually not too bad. I actually have a mango peach smoothie with me today.
No way.
Yeah. So you can see they come in these little packets here, but it's just kind of a dried powder that you add water to. So this would actually, you'd add 175 milliliters of water and let it sit for 2 to 5 minutes, and then you can stick a straw in it. You saw in that package they put a straw in the top septum portion there, and then you can drink it.
And so this is the packaging. This is food that you brought up with you, or that you had while you were at the ISS.
Yes. Yeah, actually, this is all food that we have available to us on the standard, what we call the standard menu on the space station. And so actually the graphic there showed quite a bit of the standard menu that they're going to take with them. So
let's pull
space
it back
food
up,
is space
actually.
food. Yeah, we can use the food that we have been using. You know, our food lab at Johnson Space Center actually creates that food, and then they stabilize it and they package it for us and everything. So they do a really wonderful job out there. We've got different types of food. You know, you can see I've got this is a soup, tomato basil soup, so thermal stabilized. It's already hydrated, so you just throw it in that food warmer that we talked about, and then you can eat it. But then we also I have some shrimp cocktail here that's, you know, irradiated, so it's in a package that protects it. I'll show you. I've got a brownie too. That's probably my favorite one. But
are we eating it?
We might, if you're.
Yes. Look, see, they want us to eat. I don't know what happened, but it worked out with what we were saying here.
So it's in an outer package to help protect it against, you know, radiation, and then it's in this inner package. And so this cosmic brownie, actually the trick, Ann McLean, my crewmate, taught me, the trick is you got to put this in the food warmer and get it nice and warm, and then you can get it. But so what we do is we just take scissors and you open it up, and then it comes right out. So these brownies are nice because they don't have a ton of crumbs, and so you can actually just eat it pretty easily in space. You know, if you imagine, that would not happen in space.
It
would not fall. But yeah, so we've got all sorts of things that you can actually eat. The menu's pretty good and pretty diverse on the space station, and then as you saw, pretty diverse for Orion.
Nice. Yeah, that's amazing. And again, here's a look at the crowd that's starting to continue to grow here as we get closer and closer to launch. We are now under an hour from the opening of our 2-hour launch window at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time. And so let's take some questions from social media. We haven't taken some of those for a while. You put that brownie away, Nicole, or I'm going to steal it. Nicole, we have another celebrity who submitted a question. Let's take a look.
Okay.
A quick question for the Artemis crew. What food from Earth would you bring with you into space? And why would it be lasagna? Because that's the greatest food.
Again, not really a question.
Yeah.
Because he was like, it's lasagna.
It's got to be lasagna. You know, there is lasagna on Space Station, and it wasn't too bad. Probably not my favorite food of all, but yeah, lasagna's not a bad option. It's a high-calorie meal. If you're trying to, carb load for a spacewalk or something, it's a great option.
Yeah, I remember Christina saying that her favorite food on the menu, and actually, she was saying that she was getting in trouble because people kept on saying, you can't eat mac and cheese every day, Christina.
We mentioned the mac and cheese and brisket earlier. Man, I would put those two on a tortilla. That would be great.
That sounds delicious, delicious. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for sending in those questions. For everyone from a 5-year-old that we got a question from to all the way to Roy Woods Jr. there, a comedian. So thank you so much. And if you're just joining us, welcome to the Space Coast of Florida, where we are counting down to liftoff of Artemis II. You see a beautiful aerial shot there of our rocket on the pad. For the first time in more than 50 years, we are sending humans to fly around the moon and back, and we're taking you all of you with us on this next chapter of human spaceflight. I'm NASA's Megan Cruz, and this is NASA astronaut Nicole Ayers. Great to have you here, Nicole.
Yes, this has been a beautiful day. Excited. We're continuing to march towards this launch.
Yeah, and if all goes as planned, this crew could travel farther from Earth than any other humans before them and see parts of the moon no one has ever laid eyes on. How exciting.
Yes. Exciting is an understatement, I think.
That's true.
We're going to see the far side of the moon for the first time by humans in a long time. It's important.
And as the crowd again builds behind us, more activity that you're seeing here at the Kennedy Space Center press site. We also have a ton of people gathering around the world to watch this history-making moment. So let's take a look at those watch parties now.
Oh.
That crowd has grown. We checked with them probably like 30 minutes ago, and it was half that. But again, as we get closer and closer to launch, we are seeing more and more people gather together, wanting to experience this together and not just in a vacuum at home,
Yes, this is so exciting. Look at all of those people. Man.
And now here we are back in Seattle, the Museum of Flight. Again, people gathered there to show their kid. We see someone walking in the second row there. His first crewed launch to the moon. How exciting.
That is exciting.
Hello, everyone.
Woo.
Oh, that's so great. And now let's get you up to speed on what's happened so far. Again, we are now within an hour of the opening of our launch window. So what has been happening so far today? Well, a lot. After waking up and grabbing a bite to eat, our Artemis II crew suited up inside the historic crew quarters, a tradition that dates back decades. Teams helped them into their custom Orion crew survival suits, and just like other crews before them, they gathered around a table for a card game to pass the time, but to also burn off any lingering bad luck before they walked in the footsteps of every NASA astronaut launching from Kennedy Space Center since Apollo 7 in 1968. They walked outside the Neil Armstrong Operations and Checkout Building to greet a crowd of family, friends, supporters before getting into their Astrovan for their security-escorted ride out to historic Launch Complex 39B. They got a close-up look at the SLS rocket, then walked across the crew access arm and climbed one by one inside their Orion spacecraft. After that, teams conducted final checks with the crew before closing both hatches, the crew module hatch, as well as what you're seeing there, the launch abort system hatch. And now we are back live at the pad where the closeout crew is getting ready to leave the White Room. They are now tethered, Nicole, because they are about to move some pieces that connect the Orion spacecraft to the White Room, correct?
Yes, there's kind of what I would call a shroud. You can see them working that there. So it is actually connected, so that way the gap between the crew access arm and the crew module, and well, I guess that's the LAS there, is covered. but they're about to remove that so that the crew access arm is not connected to the rocket in any way, so that it can retract here in the next few minutes.
And for how we're looking with the launch countdown milestones, let's go to Daryl Nail in the Launch Control Center.
All right, thank you very much, Megan. And as you can see there, the finishing touches, as you've been talking about, to the LAS, which brings me to that subject, because we currently are hearing the launch team is working an issue that was reported out with the LAS. At least there's an issue apparently with a battery on the LAS. The engineer who is in charge of the launch abort system sits on console here, reported that a temperature for one of the two LAS batteries is out of range. And although it's not a constraint for launch right now, it would be when that temperature is checked inside of T-minus 6 minutes, which is inside of terminal count. So right now, the team is working some troubleshooting on this issue. Going to follow, of course, along closely with what they learn. But again, a battery temp for one of the two batteries on the LAS is out of spec, and the team is working to understand, first of all, whether or not this may be a sensor issue, or is there an issue with the battery itself. So again, looking into it, troubleshooting and researching as we speak. With regards to the weather, we did get some good news there. Launch Weather Officer Mark Berger reporting to the launch director that the weather chances have now improved for the window. We are up to 90% go, which is great news. Again, 90% go. That is up from the 80% that we started when we had the first weather forecast come out officially 3 days ago. And so that is great. And for anybody who's here in the launch area knows that is certainly viewable. They can see that by just looking up. So we're getting some good clearing as forecast. And then just a reminder for those people who are watching the launch from the nearby area that if you're watching on an internet-enabled device, just remember that there may be a little bit of a delay. Can't tell you how much of a delay, but since it's on an internet device, sometimes this broadcast might be a little behind what you're actually seeing. So just keep that in mind as you are watching. Don't wait to the last second to run outside if you're inside your RV or your camper or your house. That's the latest here from the firing room. Of course, we'll keep track of that last battery issue. We'll send it back now to Megan and Nicole at the host desk.
Two of them there had to be tethered to the inside of the white room, because obviously now we have detached the white room from the Orion spacecraft.
Yes, that view is quite something.
Yeah, spectacular. Yep. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I forgot. Nicole's scared of heights. An astronaut afraid of heights is actually not uncommon, as we've learned today. But yes, so obviously, again, things proceeding as we march closer to the opening of our 2-hour launch window at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, the closeout crew just finishing up those last couple of things they have to do before leaving the white room and then leaving the pad, leaving only the 4 Artemis II crew members inside the spacecraft by themselves at the pad.
Yeah, and then we'll be curious to follow the battery issue on the LAS as well. I think sometimes it's just a sensor issue, sometimes it's a battery issue. So hopefully they figure that out quickly.
Mm-hmm. And so if we can take a shot of the crew inside the capsule, if one's available, why don't we talk a little bit more about each of them? So we have Artemis II Commander Reid Wiseman, Baltimore native, and he's actually, you see his feet in that shot there from inside Orion. He's been in space once before as flight engineer for Expedition 41 aboard the International Space Station from May through November 2014. During the 165-day mission, Reid and his crewmates completed more than 300 science experiments in areas like human physiology, medicine, physical science, earth science, as well as astrophysics. They actually set a milestone for station science by completing a record 82 research hours in a single week. He also served as chief of NASA's astronaut office from December 2020 to December 2022. His two daughters were out to wave goodbye to him as he made his way to the launch pad. And again, there's Reid's feet. Reid is the one sitting in the seat to the right, closest to our camera there. So looks like he's relaxed by the body language of his feet.
Yeah, you know, I think they're kind of in a holding pattern, if you will, or a waiting period. So it makes sense that he's a little bit relaxed. He's also kind of just a relaxed person in general. He's wicked smart, but has a demeanor that keeps everybody calm. And so I think we're seeing that here today.
And so in this shot, Reid is the one sitting on the left, and to his right, Artemis II pilot Victor Glover. NASA selected the California native as an astronaut in 2013, and at the time he was actually serving as a legislative fellow in the United States Senate. His first trip to space, November 2020, pilot of NASA's SpaceX Crew 1 mission. That was the first operational mission of NASA's Commercial Crew program, which resumed launching American rockets from American soil to the International Space Station since the end of the shuttle program. Victor is a U.S. Navy captain and naval aviator who served as a test pilot, racking up more than 3,500 flight hours in more than 40 different aircraft. So again, he probably feels pretty at home in the pilot seat of Artemis II.
Yeah, I think he does.
He got to say goodbye to his wife and 4 kids. Again, those were the family that he had here at Kennedy Space Center before the 4 of them drove out to the pad.
Yeah, and you can see there, we talked about Victor's energy earlier, and you can see him working through, you know, pushing some buttons on the displays. Looked like he was pulling up a procedure, so he's following along and ready to go, looks like.
And then mission specialist Christina Cook, sitting on the upper left-hand corner of the screen there, native of Grand Rapids, Michigan, was selected to the Astronaut Corps in 2013, same class as Victor, served as flight engineer on the International Space Station from March 2019 to February 2020. During that time, she set a record for the longest single spaceflight by a woman with a total of 328 consecutive days in space. How cool. She also participated in the first ever all-female spacewalk. And before becoming an astronaut, Christina helped build space science instruments and led scientific fieldwork in some of the most remote environments on the planet. Her hobbies include surfing, rock climbing,
and
community
CDR,
service, yoga, and photography.
Go ahead, NCD.
There's a couple of suppressed overvolt messages. We're going to go ahead and clear those off your screen.
We see them and we copy.
All right.
NASA test director.
We're still working here, trying to get through everything. So we're getting close, and then trying to talk that other issue that we just picked up a little bit ago. But I think work-wise, we're doing really well.
Sounds good, NTD. We're doing great on board.
Glad to hear it.
NASA test director giving an update to the crew. Some messages flashed on their displays. Just wanted to say that they didn't have to worry about that. We're going to clear that. And that also just reassuring the crew, again, that they are tracking and working the issue with the launch abort system battery.
Yeah.
All right. And then first-time flyer, Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen will fly to the moon as mission specialist on the Artemis II mission. The London, Ontario native selected as an astronaut in 2009. After that, he worked as Capcom at NASA's Mission Control Center in Houston. Capcom stands for Capsule Communicator and is the sole direct voice communicating with astronauts while in space. Jeremy also participated in training exercises, really cool ones, like living on the ocean floor off the coast of Florida to simulate deep space exploration for a week. In 2017, he became the first Canadian to lead a NASA astronaut class. He also enjoys getting out on a sailboat, rock climbing, and mountain biking. He has a wife and 3 children. And he's the one that you see bottom left-hand corner of your screen. I know, I'm trying to see what he's doing there. Christina's looking too. And so there is your Artemis II crew inside the Orion spacecraft. And this is actually the 7th time NASA astronauts will launch on a new NASA spacecraft designed for crew. And if you're wondering about the first 6 crewed test flights, here they are. Gemini 3, Gus Grissom, John Young, March 23, 1965. Apollo 7, Wally Schirra, Don Isley, Walt Cunningham, October 11, 1968. Space Transportation System, or STS-1, John Young, Robert Crippen, April 12, 1981. Then NASA's SpaceX Demo 2, Doug Hurley, Bob Behnken, May 30th, 2020, followed by NASA's Boeing crew flight tests. Butch Wilmore, Sonny Williams, June 5th, 2024. And now, Artemis II with Reid, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. It is really surprising, honestly, to hear that through all these decades, through all these launches we've had, this is only our 7th new vehicle that we're testing for crew.
Yeah, you know, we have so many different missions that we think about and we talk about, but really 7 vehicles that we've tested and that we're flying. You know, I like to think of spaceflight really as a permanent test, right? We have, you know, hundreds of missions or so. You know, an airplane that gets tested and then flown has thousands of data points. And so really spaceflight is always going to be in the test field. And I think it's important to remember that, especially as we put humans on rockets that we never have before, or for the 7th time we start a new vehicle and a new mission.
Just getting word now that White Room closeouts are complete. And so the closeout crew is preparing to leave the pad.
It's exciting stuff. We are making good time, and the closeout crew is doing really well.
41 minutes, 43 seconds and counting until the opening of our window. And Artemis II is a 10-day mission that will send the 4-person crew on a journey around the moon and back to Earth. It will be a critical step towards future lunar and Mars missions.
We're going back to the moon because it's the next step in our journey to Mars. We need to go explore the moon. There's vast regions of unexplored areas with the coldest, darkest places in our solar system. This is a test mission, and when we get off the planet, we might come right back home. We might spend 3 or 4 days around Earth. We might go to the moon. That's where we want to go, but it is a test mission, and we are ready for every scenario as we ride this amazing space launch system in the Orion spacecraft.
But another reason we're going back to the moon is to fulfill NASA's mission, which is to explore the unknown in air and space, to innovate for the benefit of humanity, and to inspire the world through discovery. And when we succeed and when we accomplish the things that we set out to accomplish, that inspiration not only can set up new things to happen, but it also is a reminder in tough times that we're capable of doing great things when we work together.
The thing I love about the moon is that it's not just a beacon for exploration and this platform of possibilities for incredible missions like this, but it has benefits. That's actually why we're racing towards it. Those benefits are really wide in nature. You have everything from innovation, technology development, not only for future missions going deeper into the solar system, but technologies that come back to Earth. You have inspiration, a whole generation of people starting this pipeline of STEM workers and manufacturers and operators that are excited to see what you can do when you work hard and you come together as a team.
When I think about the 4 of us flying around the far side of the moon, seeing that Earth rise, taking images and video and sending them back
back to you. The feeling that I have inside is hope. We know that Artemis II is not the solution for humanity on planet Earth, but it is a contribution in the positive column. We hope that just for a moment that people will pause and say, wow, it's extraordinary when you look back upon the Earth with over 8 billion people, and you see this concrete example of what humanity can do, this extraordinary thing when we set big goals
and CDR entity
to achieve them.
And so Mission Control Houston will control the flight of Orion after a liftoff here at Kennedy Space Center. Here's Gary Jordan, who's embedded with that team. Gary, you might have to pause because we did just hear a call out to the commander in Orion.
Will do, Megan. I think that was Commander Reid Wiseman responding to prepare for some of the next steps. We are now holding at the T-minus 10-minute hold. Expected a 30-minute hold. So we are well on the countdown. We are well on the timeline to meet this L- time and launch towards the beginning of the window, but continuing to track progress along the way. Again, I'm here with the Artemis II flight control teams in Mission Control Houston. The team in the room behind me has been monitoring the countdown and verifying their own mission-specific launch criteria of the Space Launch System, the Orion spacecraft integrity, and its crew. During the final poll before launch, if all looks good from each of the flight controllers in this room, Flight Director Judd Freeling will report a go for launch from Houston Flight. Upon liftoff, teams here take control of the mission and communicate with the crew while they fly on the Space Launch System. This phase of flight is highly dynamic, and each console position has a dedicated and important role of looking after critical systems. You'll hear calls from Capcom and NASA astronaut Stan Love in this room to the Artemis II crew as milestones are reached during the more than 8 minutes of powered flight on the core stage. Liftoff and ascent are just the beginning. This room will be staffed around the clock over the next 10 days to oversee every moment of the mission through splashdown. Here from the Johnson Space Center, we'll be streaming the mission live 24/7 so anyone can follow the crew's journey, take peeks inside the spacecraft, and share the experience of a lunar flyby with astronauts looking down at the moon's surface. Teams here have been rehearsing tirelessly in simulations to throw every conceivable and inconceivable scenario their way. We are ready and eager to begin the Artemis II mission. Still milestones to come as we continue the countdown, but we'll be right back with you during the ascent phase of today's flight. With that, Megan, I will send it back over to you at the Space Coast.
Thanks so much, Gary. Under 37 minutes until the opening of our 2-hour launch window, 6:24 p.m. Eastern. I've never been more excited for a time. But why don't we send it back over to Megan Carter with the moon board to learn more about what happens after ascent.
Absolutely. I am definitely also getting excited. Things feel like they're starting to pick up a little pace here. A lot is about to happen within the first 10 minutes of launch, but what happens after those first 10 minutes? Let me take you over here to my mission map so we can kind of jump ahead and let me explain a few things. So, our main engine cutoff is going to stand for MECO, and that is essentially where the rocket's job is done, and it is then going to turn the propulsion duties over to our ICPS. That stands for Interim Cryogenic Propulsion Stage. Don't try and say that too many times fast, but the ICPS is going to be right here, and that's our in-space propulsion. About 50 minutes into, after about 50 minutes into launch, it is going to conduct that first burn, and that's going to be the perigee raise maneuver. Essentially what that is going to do is going to raise the spacecraft from a lowest point of Earth just a little bit higher into space, and then they are going to conduct that nice path. It's going to set them on that nice circular path around the Earth. That's when they're going to start to be able to really check out the spacecraft. The Orion spacecraft is going to be able to, like we've talked about, be maneuvered by the crew. They're going to check out those life support systems, and communication checkout's going to be vital at that point as well, obviously. Then they will be conducting that another burn, and that's going to raise them just a little bit higher again. And then they will, it'll be about time for the ICPS to separate, and they will start another lap around the Earth as well. Now, the ICPS, but even after it separates, its job will not be done because they will have the opportunity to conduct something called the Proximity Operations Demonstration. And this is going to be really important for our future lunar missions because the ICPS actually has a target on it, and the crew is going to have the opportunity to manually maneuver these spacecraft like we've mentioned and practice those docking maneuvers. Now, obviously, they will not be docking for this mission, but that is, again, going to be critical for those lunar missions in the future. Now, all right, after that ICPS has separated and they've done that second lap, they're going to conduct 2 more burns. And what these burns are going to do is set them up to the high enough orbit and a fast enough speed in order to conduct the translunar injection. This is going to be that critical moment and that critical milestone where they are going to produce about 6,000 pounds of thrust. And this is that point that is going to take them out of low Earth orbit into deep space, and it's going to set them on that nice path towards that lunar flyby. And I know we have talked a little bit about why this could be a record-breaking flyby and journey to the moon. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Megan so she can tell us just why.
Yeah, she's talking about the distance record set by the Apollo 13 astronauts in 1970. They were 248,655 miles away from Earth, and this Artemis II crew might surpass that on flight day 6 when they fly around the moon by more than 4,000 miles.
Yeah, it's a long ways. It's tough to fathom 250,000 miles from Earth, right? I mean, space, the space station is only 250 miles, and so we're going, I don't want to do the public math, but we're going much further than that. But it's important, right? Because we want to get back to the moon. We want to see the surface. We want to see the far side of the moon. And the way we do that is by breaking distance records.
Yeah, and the exact distance record depends on exactly when they launch, like the time, the day. So we'll learn more as we go into this 10-day mission with the Artemis II crew. But here we are, 32 minutes, 50 seconds and counting from the opening of our launch window. Feels really, really surreal here as more and more people come to gather on the press site lawn here at Kennedy Space Center. Why don't we take a look at this video that we have here? Some familiar faces who wanted to wish our Artemis II crew a safe journey.
Reid, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, you are the real deal. You're flying to the moon for all of us, and we are in awe. You're the true heroes.
You are not just astronauts. You are pioneers, venturing deeper into the unknown. But you are not alone. We will be all cheering you on from planet Earth.
Hey, I'm Victor Wembanyama, and I play basketball in the NBA. But I'm not only interested in shooting hoops. I'm also interested in shooting stars, dark matter, and all other types of astronomical phenomenon. And to the Artemis II astronauts who are shooting for the moon, I wish them good luck and Godspeed.
Hi everybody, I'm Ryan Gosling, and I play a biologist who goes to space to save the planet in the film Project Hail Mary. But the Artemis II astronauts are going to space for real, and they will travel farther from Earth than any humans in history. Sending all our best wishes to the Artemis II crew.
I just want to say how proud I am of each of you and how inspired you make me. But it's not just about me. Your mission is going to inspire future generations of scientists, engineers, athletes, and dreamers to do something that they never thought possible.
Hey, it's Roy Wood Jr., and I want to wish the Artemis II crew a happy and safe journey to the moon, well, around the moon. To go around, I know what you're doing. You got to look for a parking space. This is to go around the moon, make sure somewhere to park, and then you park journey. Good luck.
It's actually a really good way to explain what how this mission builds. Again, we are hoping to land astronauts on the surface of the moon in maybe 2 years. So yes, we are looking around the moon on this lunar flyby mission to see where we might park. Thank you, Roy Wood Jr. Okay, and as we look at this live view of the rocket on the pad, there is a spectacular place here at Kennedy Space Center to watch launch from, and that's the Banana Creek viewing area. Why don't we go back there where the crowd is excited, and Leah has the best assignment ever talking to people who are super excited about being here for Artemis II.
Oh my gosh, Megan, you talk about the excitement being palpable. I'm telling you, everybody here on pins and needles as we get just about half an hour away from launch. I've been walking around talking to people, and I'm just struck again and again by how many people are here from across the agency. I want to introduce you to just a small portion of the people across NASA who have been supporting this mission.
Patty Ortiz, NASA Armstrong Flight Research Center, Orion Program.
Orion.
Kathy Graves, Glenn Research Center, Office of STEM Engagement.
David Alexander, NASA Glenn Research Center, Office of STEM Engagement.
Jennifer Becerra, Johnson Space Center, the Office of STEM Engagement.
Here we go, right back here. Where are you from?
I'm from NASA Glenn Research Center, Joseph Panakitis.
Joseph, here we go.
Wes Furman from APL.
Maria Arredondo from Headquarters, Next Gen STEM.
Mark Robinson, Stennis Space Center, Commercial Space.
Amira Flores, Armstrong, Office of the STEM Engagement.
Molly Kearns, NASA Glenn, Space Communications and Navigation.
Matthew Pierce, Goddard Institute for Space Studies in New York City.
Here we go, and right over here.
Lauren Ring, Ames Research Center, Data Integration.
So we're coming together. We're one big NASA team, one big NASA family, and we have one major message before we launch tonight. Okay, guys, what are we going to say? 1, 2, 3. Go Army!
Oh my gosh, that made me so emotional. That was so inspiring to see. I mean, wow, yeah, that was great. I mean, just to hear everybody say their position, what they're doing to support this mission is amazing, and I'm sure this was something that really rang true and resonated with NASA's Administrator Jared Isaacman, again, to see the workforce come together to do the work and then to be here for launch. So why don't we actually go over to him now with our Jasmine Hopkins at one of our other viewing locations.
All right, Megan, thank you so much. The energy here on the balcony is honestly becoming electric as we get so close to launch, and now we are thrilled to welcome NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman. Jared, we're really entering a golden age of exploration. How will Artemis II set the pace for the coming years?
Well, I mean, Artemis II is the opening act, right? This is the test mission. This is getting very comfortable with the SLS rocket, the Orion spacecraft. No humans have ever flown on this before, right? And we're going to put it through its paces. We'll go into Earth orbit for a little bit, make sure Orion's doing okay, and then we are sending them, right? We're going to send them farther into space than any humans might have gone before, 250,000 miles away, and it's going to set up for the subsequent missions. That's why we're going into the golden age of science and discovery right now, because you're going to see a moon rocket launch in 2027 when we do our testing with the lander. We're going to go for the landing on Artemis IV in 2028, and in parallel, we're going to build the moon base, right? And that is going to be filled with science discovery and tech demonstrations that's going to support the enduring presence we're trying to create on the surface.
Absolutely. So honestly, history-making years ahead of us, you know, with Artemis 3 and 4. But first is Artemis 2. What will be our single greatest takeaway from this mission?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, after ignition, to me, the moment that I'm going to be most excited for is splashdown. There's no question about that. Good shoots coming down off the West Coast. But look, I think the takeaway from this is gaining extreme comfort in the Orion spacecraft, right? I mean, this is very different than what we've done for more than a half century, right? I mean, the velocities that spacecraft is going to re-enter at, it's going to be new territory for us. We want to get our arms around that completely. So I would say the performance of SLS plus Orion is everything on this one. We want to make sure we do it in as a safe way as we possibly can, understanding what we are undertaking right here, bring our crew back, learn as much we can from the vehicle, set up for Artemis 3 in 2027.
Right. And Administrator, we've actually had a pretty young audience today here, some kids running around the balcony. How do you hope Artemis 2 inspires that next generation?
You know, I talk about this all the time. Like, you know, one of our overarching KPIs that we should always be tracking is the number of people living and working in space. Well, you know what's another strong number 2 on that one? It's the number of kids that are dressing up as astronauts for Halloween, so that they grow up, that they're inspired to want to join in this grand endeavor, whether they come work with us here at NASA or they join in industry, but they're helping humankind venture out farther, pursue all the secrets of the universe.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of kids dressed as astronauts this year. And finally, Jared, you've really made it a personal mission to get to know the people behind the work at NASA. Do you have any final thoughts, any final words before today's history-making amazing launch.
Yeah, well, one, I want to express a lot of appreciation. I'll tell you what, the 4 astronauts on top of Artemis II know this. It takes an army to pull a mission together like this, right? Across all 10 of our centers, all of our commercial partners, the international partners that come together to make this possible. My sincere appreciation for everyone who is currently working the mission right now, so getting them ready for launch, that will be watching over them in mission control, recovering this crew when they splash down off the West Coast. I have complete trust and confidence in your abilities. And everybody else who's not directly working on Artemis II, Artemis III is coming up next year. When this mobile launcher gets back in the VAB, we're going to start stacking.
Wow, plenty of excitement ahead of us. Jared Isaacman, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Of course. All right. And with that, let's get back to the countdown with NASA's Megan Cruz.
Under 25 minutes and counting from the opening of our 2-hour launch window. And take a look at all these people behind us. I literally, every moment I turn around and I see the clock, I am like, oh, wow. Oh, wow.
There are more people and less time.
Yes, exactly, which is a great problem to have.
Yes.
Now, this first crewed test flight of NASA's Artemis program coincides with the 250th anniversary of our country's founders signing the Declaration of Independence. Exploration is a part of America's DNA, and it continues now with our return to the moon.
250 years ago, 13 colonies laid the foundation for the greatest and most enduring democracy in the history of the world. One driven by courage, faith, and freedom. From that moment, we became a nation defined not by where we stood, but by how far we were willing to go. We conquered vast frontiers, invented tools that shaped a modern world. We found light in the dark, and we rose from the earth. Faster, higher, farther. We pushed beyond the sky and into the unknown. We carried our courage into the cosmos, and we planted the American flag on the moon, the defining achievement of American superiority in space. Today, our curiosity stretches farther than ever. American robots search ancient rivers on Mars. New telescopes unfold to glimpse the first stars. And a new generation prepares to return to the moon, this time to stay. For 250 years, America has carried the light of humanity forward. But American exceptionalism isn't inherited, it's earned. Our greatness comes not only from what we've done, but what we're still determined to discover. Because in every era, across every horizon, America is at its best when it's reaching for something greater. America celebrates 250 years, and we are leading the world into the future.
22 minutes, 15 seconds and counting from Artemis II, NASA's boldest test flight in a generation. The crew has said this often, that they hope it inspires children around the world. And recently, a group of kids here at Kennedy Space Center got a surprise of a lifetime while watching that rocket roll to the launch pad.
So tell me what color it is. And who's going to be on that rocket? We're going to be on that rocket.
I could make it a little bit longer. Did you see it? Okay, so everybody's looking at the rocket because it is kind of cool and impressive. One of the coolest things happening over there right now, though, is it's on top of a giant tractor.
Doesn't all food come in like tubes? It's in these like little plastic bags, and you have to like rehydrate it. Sushi. There's not. I haven't seen sushi in space. It's probably hard to keep that back.
Sushi mashed together.
My favorite part was this one little girl. She had a question. She had patiently held her hand for a long time, and Christina turns to her and says, "Okay, what's your question?" She just goes, "I forgot." It was like, that's a perfect little kid moment. I just love.
Wait, are you my mother's cats too, astronauts?
What? Say that again?
Never mind. It's a little hard to say. Go Artemis!
These two? Yeah. You can put it on your hand. Look at this one. Yeah. There you go. I like your
dabbing astronaut back there. It's just so fun to see the enthusiasm, the energy, and a little bit of chaos.
3, 2, 1. Wasn't that so cute?
I love kids and their excitement and, you know, even just being real. Like, I don't remember what I was
I know,
gonna
he
ask.
goes, but I'm glad you're here. Now here we are, Space Center Houston. The crowd has exponentially grown throughout the day. We started showing you live shots from in there probably an hour ago, and now take a look at all the people there getting ready to witness history together. It's something really special to be able to witness something like this together.
Yeah, you know, we've heard from celebrities and officials and kids, and, you know, it's amazing. People from all around the world came here today to Florida to watch, so it's something, it's hard to put into words, just how much support for this mission we're seeing today. And
great news, too. Remember, the team was tracking an issue with the launch abort system battery. They appear to have cleared that issue, so we are go for launch.
Yes, it's exciting.
U.S. Space and Rocket Center here, Huntsville, Alabama, waving to the Artemis II crew sitting right there inside Orion. Inside of 20 minutes from the opening of our launch window, and right now we are targeting the top of that launch window, so we could be launching here in about 19 minutes, Nicole.
Wow, I don't know if I expected this today. I'm excited, and, you know, I'm glad they were able to clear the problem with the battery on the LAS, and everything has gone really smoothly today. It's been great. The weather cleared up. It's a beautiful day for a launch.
And so now, as we are so close to possibly launch now, just what are your final thoughts as we are about to embark on a mission back to the moon, the first time in more than 50 years?
Yeah, you know, just so proud of the crew and all of the teams here on the ground that made this happen. You know, they are carrying the torch from the Apollo era into the Artemis era. And, you know, as the crew likes to say, they want to be the shoulders that the next generation.
And let's see, GLS, can you help us with that, please?
They want to be the crew wants to be the shoulders that the next generation can climb on.
001.
You know, I think it's in their patch. We're going for all. It's in the name of their capsule, integrity, representing humility, and the professionalism of everyone that got them there today. So proud of them. We love them. We're excited for them, and we cannot wait to see what they see.
Just leveraging everything we've learned so far as an agency, taking us from Apollo now to the launch pad here, 39B, with Orion and SLS poised to again fly us into the history books. And before we leave you now here at the host desk to get back into operations, we just wanted to answer one question for you guys. We asked you earlier on today, what are you most excited for? And we asked you to go vote on Instagram and Twitch. Instagram, you guys said launch. Twitch, you guys said lunar flyby. So I think you guys will all be very excited since we are now about 17 minutes from the opening of our launch window today. And so with that, as we approach terminal count, let's send it back to Daryl Nail in Firing Room 1. Daryl.
All right, thank you, Megan and Nicole, and just want to give you an update on the launch abort system that you just reported that they cleared. They believe, they're convinced, this is an instrumentation failure. So there are 2 batteries on the LAS. The LAS, of course, and with the help of my 2-year-old son's model rocket, Daniel said I could use this, so it's okay. The LAS is right here. It's the tower above Orion. Orion capsule's inside of here. It's used to pull Orion off the rocket in case the rocket is something's going on with the rocket, either on the pad or in flight. 2 batteries are bad. Well, I'm sorry, one of the 2 batteries reported an out-of-family temperature, and it was very much out of family. And so they checked their data going back into the vehicle assembly building where they recharged the batteries and worked on them. And they have good, solid data, they reported, that tells them that this is an instrumentation failure, that there's something wrong with the sensor. And so they took it before the mission management team, which has to accept the risk, any changes to launch commit criteria, which this would would be one, and they all fully accepted it. So now we are clear as far as that constraint is concerned. And one quick thing as we count down now, we are getting into the final minutes before liftoff. There's a 2-hour window. We haven't quite set the T0 yet, but this is a list of the cutouts. There are 150 cutouts that are included for this 2-hour launch window. And that's important. They're in very small print. That's important because there's basically 16 minutes inside this window that they cannot launch. And these are because of small things flying in orbit. There's a lot more things in orbit than there were back in Artemis I when we had 35 to 40 cutouts. For that reason, because of these 156 cutouts, they're going to be managing the launch window as we go forward. So they may have to wait out one of these cutouts. They range in time between 2 seconds to 23 seconds, but you'll hear the NASA test director talk through that. We're getting ready to merge that loop from NASA test director Jeff Spaulding. And so now I'm listening to the launch team get ready to merge their operational channel. We're now entering one of the most consequential phases of launch day, and that's terminal count, the final 10 minutes.
And OTC, NTD on 212 for comm check?
Good, comm. How me?
I hear the same. STC?
2.
GTC?
GTC is on 212.
All right, copy that.
NASA Test Director Jeff Spaulding confirming communications with his team. There will be 2 polls that we'll hear. One from Spaulding, the NASA test director, confirming the ground systems and the launch team are ready to proceed. At this point, we have a clear board, no constraints, but we need confirmation from each individual on the NASA test director team. So we'll hear him poll his team. The other poll that we're waiting for is the poll from Launch Director Charlie Blackwell Thompson, who will take that final status from NASA management before giving the go to come out of a hold. And you're seeing the clock count down at L minus 12 minutes.
CCL, OTC, Orion, RS1.
CCL.
Yes, sir. Reconfigure ARS primary loop ISO valves.
Copy, that's in work.
And CDR, OTC, Orion, RS1.
Go.
ARS loop ISO valves are being closed at this time.
Integrity copies.
NGDLP.
Go.
Yes, I had a discussion with sea ice and with MER manager regarding the observation the sea ice had a few minutes ago. They were able to confirm with BCI photos that the condition that they observed has been there since 2025. MER manager has had a chance to review the findings, and they do not have any constraints from either a sea ice or MER manager perspective.
Okay. Copy all. And Launch Director, NTD, you copy?
Yes, sir. I copy. That's good news.
OTC, CCL 212.
OTC.
ARS primary loop isolation valve configuration is complete.
Copy.
And CGLS, NTD, cancel pending, please.
GLS copies, and that's complete.
All right, and for all personnel, we got a little bit more work to do before we pick up the clock, and we're about a little over a minute from getting to T-minus 10 minutes, but we've canceled the resume time there, and then we'll pick it up after we get through all of our work and anything else that we need to do to get through the remainder of count. So we'll continue working that to get to our T0 today. So when we get to about 50 seconds from now, we'll extend that hold.
CVSE, OTC.
CVSE.
400, 290, looking to verify that we are configured for ascent.
Yep, give me about 2 more minutes. I'm going to start CMA2 streaming.
Copy.
NTD COSE hold requested.
Copy that.
I have an LCC violation of O-CT-004, S-band transponder anomaly. This was a transient LCC violation, so transponder 1 had a demodulated SNR estimate that went down to 2 dBm when it should have been between 10 and 13. It is now back up to 12, but we did lose that for just a moment. It does not appear that we lost our bit sync or carrier lock, which would be indicative that we lost our lock with the vehicle. So at this point, recommendation would still be go. However, we do have a pre-planned contingency procedure if we want to look at that. But again, this is transient, so we're back in a nominal range.
All right, let's see, LPE NTD.
Yeah, we're not seeing that hit, so I guess the question for COSE, was that less than 3 samples? Is that below our persistence?
Stand by, let me look. It did look like it did persist for several seconds on mine, but let me take a look at the number of samples.
Could I get a repeat on the affected LCC, please?
Yes, ma'am, that's going to be O-CT-004.
Thank you.
Yeah, us taking a look at the data right here, looks like that was a single sample.
Yeah, copy that. RFTS does report that they also lost lock for about 5 seconds. So I would love to ask KUS and see if they also lost lock with the vehicle for any extended amount of period.
And COSE, while we're doing that, these are 1/10 hertz measurements, correct? So we would have had to lose it for over 10 seconds to get a second sample?
Yes, sir, that's correct. It is 1/10 hertz.
Yeah, so from our perspective, the allowance is effectively up to 30 seconds, up to 3 samples based on the 1/10 hertz. This is not an LCC violation, I believe.
Yes, sir, I would agree with that at this point. Copy that.
We're checking with KUS on 232. I don't think they have 212 access. We're trying to verify, but it sounds like they have a loss of lock as well. About 2 seconds.
Okay. And I guess for both KUS and COSE, do we have lock now?
That's affirmed. We do have lock for COSE.
Yeah, so from the integration console perspective, we did have a temporary loss there within the allowable, and per the requirement, let's go.
And this is Houston Flight. We have lock and we have good telemetry here in GSE.
And KUS is reported to they have good lock now. So with all of that, OSC, then are we in a go configuration per your LCC?
Yes, sir. Recommendation would be go.
Right. LP, you concur with that?
Yes, sir. LP concurs go.
And Launch Director?
Yes, sir. Launch Director concurs go.
All right, and I'm going to go ahead and just verify everybody has everything else complete, Launch Director, and if we do, we'll be ready to pick up the poll at that time, unless there's something else that you're aware of.
No, sir. Let's verify all our work is complete, and I would like one last check of our constraints list.
All right, let's see. OTC, are you still waiting for ComConfig, or are you
complete? That is affirmed, sir.
Okay, is that your only open item?
Yeah, OTC, this is CVSC. That 400 step 290 is complete.
Copy.
Okay, so OTC, you're complete with all of your work?
That's affirmed.
All right, copy that. STC?
STC is complete.
And GTC?
GTC is complete.
Okay, excellent. All right, and LPE, just want to verify we have no open constraints at this time.
No open constraints. We have a clear board, sir.
Okay, tracking the same here.